everyone, I'm Bryn Schimmel, and you're watching Community Action Now. Thank you for joining us for our May episode of the show. We are excited that you're here, and we're thrilled to have today a very special guest. Brett Hoogeveen is with us, and Brett is one of the co-founders of BetterCulture, which is a technology and training program based here in Omaha, and they are just trying to make the world a better place to work. And we're going to talk more about BetterCulture later. Brett has a very extensive resume, lots of experience in the healthcare field, a former engineer, public speaker, business analyst. But you spent most of your career working in the healthcare field here in Omaha at QLI, which has been a nationally renowned business and voted 5 consecutive times as the #1 place to work in the Omaha Metro. So welcome, we're glad that you're here.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about QLI first to start? What is it?
Sure, happy to share about QLI. QLI is an organization that, if you asked 20 years ago, a lot of people in Omaha might not have known what it was. It didn't have a lot of visibility, but both increasingly as a terrific employer, as you mentioned, being named #1 best place to work many times, and also as a specialized healthcare provider that provides comprehensive rehabilitation and care for individuals that have had a catastrophic injury.
Okay.
So a brain injury, spinal cord injury, other severely either cognitive or physically disabling condition. QLI is one of, if not the largest centers in the country to provide rehab and care for individuals like that. That's not a hospital.
Sure.
So we provide a really unique niche in that healthcare continuum.
And when was QLI started? How did it come about?
So I do have a family connection to the origins of QLI, but it really started with a parents group that had a vision for saying, you know, there's this type of specialty service for individuals with cognitive challenges, brain injury, certain conditions that were younger adults. There wasn't really a model out there. There were traditional nursing facilities and other group home type models that didn't seem like the right fit, and they had a vision for quality of life for their children. And that was how the organization got started. Quality Living Inc. became QLI. My father helped get it off the ground, and like you mentioned, I still work there a little bit today for over a decade.
Very cool. Who qualifies for services at QLI?
So our patients, most people don't know this, but most of QLI's patients come from out of state on the rehabilitation side.
So QLI serves more than just the Omaha metro area?
Much more. We exist only in Omaha.
Sure.
But the patients that need our services come from mostly individuals who've had a recent accident or injury from all across the United States. And so that might be someone who has had a brain or spinal cord injury, who visited a local emergency room, was moved to an acute care floor, started rehabilitation at an acute rehabilitation hospital. Almost every decent-sized city across the United States has a rehabilitation unit or floor in their local hospital.
Sure.
QLI would be a next step to individuals that don't need to be in a hospital anymore, but still have a long ways to go on their rehabilitation journey.
So they live on site?
Live on site mostly. We have outpatient options as well, but most of the patients that come to QLI on our rehabilitation side are inpatient. They reside inside the facility, and that allows us to do even more and more intensive, more increased repetition in that rehabilitation program. So a lot of people think of us, if they haven't been to QLI, as a step down from a hospital, but from a clinical expertise and an intensity perspective, in many ways, it's a big step up as far as the amount of rehab someone gets when they come to our facility. And that's why people travel from across the country to come here.
So I assume then that QLI employs many medical professionals, therapists, et cetera.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a broad spectrum of the rehabilitation teams. You know, everything from physical and occupational and speech therapists to psychologists and neuropsychologists, to our medical team, nurses and physicians, to more specialists that work with whether that's pre-admit or community reintegration or life skills or therapeutic recreation or discharge planning or family relationships. We really pride ourselves on having the most robust clinical and therapeutic team that can serve anybody for what their needs are when they come to us.
Amazing. So if people needed to receive services from QLI, how would they go about getting into that if they maybe didn't have a referral or if they're interested in coming to QLI?
So we get very few referrals from people that are just sitting on their couch going, I think I could use that.
Sure.
Right? So it's not the type of thing that usually it does come from a referral. It usually does come from a hospital or a facility that we have a relationship with that's aware of us. We do a lot of work, especially pre-COVID, but we're getting back at it, where we have liaisons that travel the country to evaluate patients in facilities and establish relationships with those medical and rehab care teams so that we can identify who can benefit from our program, who's not the right fit for our program, et cetera.
Very cool.
There may be some opportunities in the fairly near future where we're going to be able to increase outpatient access to services. We have an active interest in that. But at the moment, we're not the type of facility or program that there are a lot of people just from the general community that it makes sense for them to reach out and inquire and say, hey, my head's been hurting me a little bit. Would you take a look at it? We operate mostly on the fairly severe end of that spectrum of working with people that have a complicated path to rebuilding a life that they're excited about living.
Got it. And we've talked a lot on the show this year with various businesses and nonprofits about how COVID kind of changed the way that everyone did business. How did that affect you guys at QLI?
So I'm probably not the best person to ask that question to. I don't have insight into every aspect of how it impacted QLI, but I will say that, as any inpatient medical facility will tell you, putting in place appropriate safety protocols to make sure that our patients and our team members and our patients' families and everybody else is protected was something that we did very quickly, and we wanted to make sure that we provided as safe of an environment as possible. That does create some amount of hardship on the patients, on their families, on our team members, with regard to the speed at which we can operate. We're the type of organization where the strength of why people come to QLI is because our real expertise is community reintegration. So we do a lot of formal therapy work on campus, and that worked pretty well under COVID. The things that really suffered for a while was opportunities where we could network with an organization out in the community to say, hey, when this patient or resident discharges back to Alaska, this is what life looks like for them. And we'd love to integrate that person into the Omaha community and practice some of those real world skills before we discharge them home. Those types of things got a lot more complicated under COVID. We were limited in our ability to think creatively and be flexible. But that doesn't mean we didn't get it done. It just meant the world got a little smaller for a while.
Sure, absolutely. Shifting a little bit from what QLI does and the services that they offer, we definitely want to talk about the whole workplace culture, and we'll get into that more in the second half with the programs that you guys do. But it's been voted one of the best places to work several times. Tell us about the workplace culture at QLI.
Yeah, so I have a great job at QLI in that I get to network with external individuals, whether that's insurance companies, whether that's hospitals that we work with, whether that's media or the general public. And I say I have a great job because the product that I have to talk about really speaks for itself. And so when I invite people to visit QLI or visit the campus, we can get very technical. I can't, but our team can get very technical about the clinical and rehabilitation competencies that we have. But almost always, the general impression that people have very quickly is, am I at Disneyland here? Why is everyone so happy, so upbeat, so positive?
I've never been there, and I feel like I need to get over there and check it out.
Absolutely. You will run into employees that are tremendously proud of the work that they do, who love the mission of the organization, who bring their best to serving our residents and patients and clients, but also who just really enjoy one another and enjoy that workplace culture. So QLI, since its origins back in the early 1990s, has been pretty relentlessly focused on saying if we can build the type of work environment that'll help us attract and motivate and develop and keep great people,
Right.
those people will take care of our stakeholders and our patients,
Absolutely.
our customers. And so culture's always been a priority. And it was really rewarding when the very first time, this was way back in 2005, that QLI decided to participate in the Baird Holm and the Omaha Chamber's Best Places to Work survey and competition, that we were named the #1 best place to work, sort of the first time we ever played.
Right.
So much so that there was even a little bit of investigation of, were these results fudged?
Sure.
Some national consultants actually flew in to check that out. So the culture out there is just tremendous.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort to
Sure.
get that where it needs to be.
Tell me some of the things that you think contribute to that, to it being so successful, that workplace culture. Anyone who's from the Omaha area probably kind of has heard stories about QLI. I've heard a few good stories about QLI and the work culture and cool things that you guys do. So how do you think that is achieved?
I think I can tell you more about that in our second segment,
Okay.
where we'll get into the
leadership.
mindset and better culture
Okay.
side. What I will say from QLI's perspective is, if you don't have an ear for and a heart for the people, that the employees that work there, you're not going to be a fit at QLI.
Sure.
From top executive management to every leader in the organization, to every employee across the organization, QLI is a very flat system, and employees know that their peers are there for them as much as we are for the patients. And so if you look at, I don't think I could probably point you to a better organization where you could say, now QLI doesn't officially say this, but it's more or less understood that every employee pretty much has a right to work for a great supervisor at QLI. Some of the principles that we operate under put more stress on leadership to live up to our values
Right.
than leadership puts on employees to meet their expectations, et cetera. There's a high bar for what it means to be a leader, and everybody has an opportunity to contribute toward that bar, not just managers, not just supervisors.
Right.
Everybody's got an opportunity to contribute to the culture, and we share that from day one. And your first day at QLI, you're going to observe a lot of role models for what does this look like, what's expected of me, and I think that kind of thing becomes contagious. It's not just a slideshow in orientation.
Right.
You get to see the real thing and say, oh, this is fun. I want to contribute to that.
Awesome. Well, great. We're going to talk more about that in our next segment and about what Better Culture does. And so we will be right back.
Where can you watch KPAO Community Television? The channel with all of the local shows. If you live in the Omaha area, Cox Channel 22 HD is your place. If you prefer streaming, go to kpaoTVOmaha.org. And now, if you have the Apple TV box, grab our app and watch us there. KPAO on cable, streaming live, and now on Apple TV.
KPAO Community Television, handmade in Omaha since 2013.
Hey guys, welcome back to today's episode of Community Action Now. We have been talking with Brett Hoogeveen of Better Culture and QLI. We've been talking about the workplace culture at QLI, what they do, and so now we're going to shift gears a little bit to talk about Better Culture. So you're one of the co-founders of that. Tell us exactly what Better Culture is.
Sure. Well, we mentioned in the first segment regarding QLI that my father was early on the president and CEO at QLI, and one of his passions always has been workplace culture. He played a good-sized role in helping to envision and build the culture that was at QLI. When he was getting close to retiring, he and I had conversations around, I was always interested about culture and leadership, et cetera. And as he was getting ready to retire, he had people saying, hey, now that you're not doing this full time, could you come talk to us about this leadership and culture stuff?
Sure.
And so I think maybe for a while he thought he was going to have like a part-time retirement gig.
Sure.
I'm kind of retired, but I do a little speaking or consulting. As he and I talked more, and as we had opportunities to work with organizations that wanted to invest in their leaders, improve their workplace culture, create a better experience for their employees, we fairly quickly found ourselves in a spot where, hey, there's like a business here to help organizations and leaders that want to be stronger leaders and better places to work. And so we started a company. The time is debatable because there was a little moonlighting period in there, but sometime between 2005 and 2010 or 11 called Mindset, where we work with clients that want to build and develop leaders and improve their cultures. But just before COVID, we were realizing that the scope of impact that we could have as individual coaches, trainers, consultants, et cetera, was fairly limited. Most of our client work over the years had been based in and around Omaha, Nebraska, a little bit of Iowa. On occasion, something further away would pop up. But we were very limited by our own time because almost every client that we worked with, myself, my brother, or my father would show up in person and would help set strategy or do training or other things.
Right.
And we said, what if we thought a little bit bigger? What if we broadened our mission from just helping to grow and develop leaders and help companies be better places to work to what would it take to make the world a better place to work?
Yeah.
And so we launched a new brand, a branch off of Mindset called BetterCulture, where our intention is to build scalable processes, products, and insights that we can help organizations, not just in Omaha and locally, but regionally, nationally, maybe even globally. We'll see how far we go with what we're doing with BetterCulture.
Cool. Employee retention is such a huge thing. I think it always has been, but especially it seems like in the last few years. So BetterCulture is a curriculum, right, at this point, that you present or work with companies or individuals mostly about leadership principles and workplace culture. Is that correct?
You got a good chunk of it.
Okay.
Yes. So
I've only done part of it.
Yeah.
I'm not all the way through the program yet, so.
The exciting thing about BetterCulture, what we really want to build is a recipe and a toolkit for an individual within an organization that wants to drive culture. And so in doing so, we really have three components currently.
Okay.
The first is an employee engagement survey product. So it's best before you go in and prescribe a treatment, whether you're a physician or whether you're a leadership consultant, to get some sense of how healthy is your culture today? How do your employees feel about their peers, their managers, their organization? How connected are they to the mission? All these kinds of things. So to really get a baseline for organizational and cultural health. And we have one of the most comprehensive cultural surveys on the market. And so it's a great tool, and a lot of organizations start with that.
Okay.
On top of that, we have this belief that really truly great cultures, like the ones at QLI, are influenced not just from the top down, but also from the bottom up. That every employee, whether you're the CEO or you're a brand new, frontline employee, you have an opportunity to influence other people and to build and shape culture. And so we have two products, one that is a leadership development product.
Okay.
That's a video-based course. We call it our on-demand mindset leadership program.
Okay.
As well as a brand new software-based product that goes to every employee in organizations that are interested. That's called our 20 Tenets of Culture. And our goal is that we can provide ammunition to an organization, first to understand where you're at today and where do you want to go tomorrow, and then a map for how to get there. Both what can leaders do to contribute and what can every employee do to contribute.
And about how many people or businesses are you guys working with or providing that service to right now? How much has it grown in the last few years?
So BetterCulture, the growth there has been steady.
Okay.
So we're still operating our mindset business.
Right.
And we're trying to find the opportunities for BetterCulture to grow and scale. What's been really interesting is we've found opportunities through BetterCulture with smaller organizations that historically we haven't had either the time or they haven't had the budget to work with us on because it was a
Sure.
fairly labor-intensive process. Well, as we start to move in the direction of being a bit more of a technology and software-based company, pricing comes down, access goes up,
Right.
and again, we're able to make a bigger and broader impact. And so we've probably done more work with employers with fewer than 50 employees in the last 6 months
Okay.
than we have in the last 10 years
Okay,
of
cool.
mindset work. So that's been a fun trend. We also have some exciting and interesting partnerships that
Okay.
are in the works that have the potential to take our current visibility with BetterCulture and magnify that in other communities across the region.
Very cool. And then you guys have a new program that you're working on right now, right? Tell us about that.
Sure. So we always have many new things going on at BetterCulture and at Mindset.
Sure.
So I use those two brands a bit interchangeably. But we have one program that we're currently enrolling individuals in that is not a technology-driven program.
Okay.
It's an old-fashioned mindset leadership development course, but it's my favorite of everything that we offer. And it's called Leadership Propel. The Omaha Chamber of Commerce is a partner of ours in promoting and hosting this program.
Okay.
But I will be running it over the course of 7 months. It's a small group, cohort-based model where we walk through a leadership curriculum together. We meet 7 months in a row for a half day
Okay.
at the Omaha Chamber's offices. And I'll have a chance, probably 50-60% of that time, to present content, to give people some assignments and some stretch work and other things. But the neat thing about Propel is our vision with that program is to take someone who wants to be more and do more as a leader and to propel their experience as a leader much more than 7 months forward over that 7 months. We want to take that 7 years forward.
Right.
And the way we do that is by having discussion among the participants of what challenges are you running into in your environment? What practices or approaches does your business take on this issue? And so being part of that small group discussion where there's education and peer-to-peer sharing, you get a lot of experience through other people by being a part of the program.
Very cool. If there are organizations or people who are interested in those services or any of those programs, how would they go about reaching out to you guys or working with you?
Sure. Well, the first thing I want to say is that we are currently enrolling for this program. We'll probably
Yes,
have it
and we're going to
filled.
put the link on the screen.
Oh,
so.
great. So we'll probably have it filled in the next couple of weeks would be my guess. And the URL, the best place to get information is to go to gomindset.com/propel. So gomindset.com/propel is the easiest
Okay.
way to get there. If you want more info, just reach out to us. There's some information on the website. There's a description of the curriculum. It's not an inexpensive program, so it is something that either an individual or an organization needs to be willing to make an investment.
Right.
I think the sticker price is around $3,000 to participate.
Okay.
There are certain discounts available for nonprofits and other things as well.
Sure. So you do serve any kind of business, nonprofit, anyone who's interested, basically.
Yeah, we do a lot of work with nonprofit organizations. My whole family has a background in the nonprofit community. QLI is a nonprofit organization. And so we love working with nonprofit organizations and have established some partnerships in some ways that we can subsidize cost.
Amazing. We have talked about a lot of things today, and there is obviously a lot of crossover for you guys with family and the businesses and even kind of the healthcare experience and the leadership programs. But what, if you ever have time that isn't taken up with all of these things, what are some things that you like to do personally that you enjoy when you're not doing all of this?
Oh, personally?
Personally.
Huh. Well, I do have really 2 jobs, 3 if you count Mindset and BetterCulture as 2
Sure.
different things. But I love all of them.
Yeah.
Personally, I have a wonderful wife, Nicole, and 3 young kids. So when I have spare time, I'm a dad that likes to be hands-on.
Yeah.
So whether that's jumping on the trampoline or running to baseball games or, doing schoolwork or whatever that looks like. That's where most of my free time goes these days, and I like it just that way. So.
Good. Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for being here. We could probably talk for much longer time about many more aspects of all of this, but we are out of time for today. So thank you again for coming.
Thanks for having me.
For anyone who's interested, again, you can check out NCAP's social media. We will have all of these things posted. You can go to their website. We'll put some information up on the screen. But other than that, thank you again, as always, for helping us at NCAP keep people safe, fed, and housed, and we will see you next month.